Ta-da! Hey, and welcome to another IC82 video. I know the video says this is the Percy mail train, and it is, I'm not joking. We'll get there, bear with me. Bear with. This is the Hornby night mail train set, and many loyal fans of the channel will know I did do a video on this a while ago. Probably 2 or 3 years ago, I'm not too sure, but basically this particular set, the video on this set had to be pulled down again. It had some copyrighted music in it and stuff, and YouTube said, we'd really rather you do this again. So I said, okay, and I never did it again. And I do apologise for that. If you'd really like to see me do this one again, let me know. I probably will, because it is a really nice set. But obviously this set inspired or sort of helped Hornby to bring along this one, because they're more or less the same thing. Basically, this is the Thomas & Friends range, which I think Hornby have kind of stopped now. I think they've stopped it, I'm not too sure, so that is something to bear in mind. But in this particular set, you get a beautiful little locomotive in the form of Percy, which is a really cute 040 type locomotive. No wheels at the front, 4 main driving ones and none at the back. He's dead ace, he's a really nice little locomotive. And quite accurately modelled as well. It's basic, but it is for kids, so you don't want tons of detail on there because it will just snap off and stuff. You get an operating mail coach, which again is basic, but it does the job and it really works quite well. And then you get a little brake van at the... Well, sorry, no, it's not a brake van, but it's basically just a little box van, a wagon at the end, and that's it. You don't get Thomas, but obviously it's his range, so that's why he's there. It does show you what you get on the side of the box. There we go, Thomas & Friends. 24 pieces. Wow. Well, yeah. So there's Percy. There's the little box van I told you about. That's the mail coach. It does work. It's fully functional. And then you get the mail apparatus itself. Then, of course, you've got your controller and your adapter, a set of buffers, points, the power track section, short straight, some long straights, your third radius curves, and then what I like to call the point corrector, which is basically just half of a second radius curve. And what that does is it allows you attach that bit onto there, and it makes the tracks run parallel again. That's all it is. And of course you get a track mat, and the track mat is I think it's the Thomas & Friends track mat. The Hornby do at least 2. They might even do 3 track mats. But this is the Thomas & Friends one. I think. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a really old one. I'm not too sure. But it's really quite nice. It's quite flexible. And you see this dirt track here. You can even make the layout even smaller by running a length of track through that, which is pretty nice. It's quite interesting. But it's all there. You get everything that you need to get going. So it's really quite a nice set. The only thing I would bear in mind is, as I mentioned earlier, I think Hornby are winding down the whole Thomas & Friends range because I haven't seen any stuff by them for a while. So getting hold of other Thomas & Friends accessories is going to become increasingly difficult, so do bear that in mind. But for now, it's still pretty easy to get hold of this stuff, especially if you look around online. And it is a fantastic little set. I am going to show you what a fantastic little set it is. So that is the Hornby, Percy and the Mail train set. And of course, as I say, this is the night mail one. This is just an empty box. But I think I will come back and do this one again as well. It's slightly different in that you get a Ginty locomotive, which is an 060. There's your operating mail coach. And you do get a brake coach as well, a full brake. Well, not a full brake, a half brake. So it's quite different, but again, it's really nice, almost identical in terms of the, well, yeah, it is identical. It's the same layout, same track, same mail apparatus, just slightly different rolling stock. Right, so back to Percy. Let's open the box and see what we get. Well, hey, and thanks for joining me for the next part of the video. As you can see, I've swapped the camera around. I was behind the camera, I'm now in front of the camera. Just because it's a train set and it's quite big and hard to keep in shot, I thought that this would allow you to see everything better, so that's why I've done that. So, let's open the box and see what you get inside. It's pretty standard Hornby packaging. It's not hard to open or get into. Oops. There we go. I must have put it back upside down. Apologies for that. So if I just flip this round. Let's come back to this in a second actually. We'll look at all the really boring stuff first. This is all the mumbo jumbo, the gumph, and they're both technical terms, it has to be said. So let's just very quickly go through this. I know loads of people have seen this before, I know, but there's always people that have never seen this before. Maybe this is the first train video they've ever seen, so I always like to quickly show them what you get. Right, well the first thing is you get 4 little mail bags that are used in the mail apparatus, the operating apparatus that we'll see later. I do think originally you get them in a separate little bag on their own, but because this set has already been opened, I keep them in the actual main bag. I did buy this train set from Portmaddock, which I forgot to tell you in the first part of the video, from a lovely little shop there, and it was only about 50 or 60 quid. It really wasn't very expensive. So for the value for money, if you can get it for a price like that, is fantastic. I really do recommend it. I took it back to the hotel that night, set it up, and had some great fun. I really did. I mean, I was tweeting pics of it and putting it on my Facebook, and all my friends were seeing it, and it was just a laugh. It was really good. So if you can get hold of it for a good price, I do recommend it. I really do. Right, so what do you get then? Okay, well the first thing is obviously really important. It's just this little safety thing about how you should stay away from the tracks, and it's just a health and safety thing. I do recommend it. Obviously, do stay away from the tracks. They're dangerous. Stick to the double ones. They're much safer. Then you get a little set of instructions on the actual locomotive. Again, this is standard procedure by Hornby. Even Batman do this. Most manufacturers do this. You'll very, very rarely need to open this up and actually go into it, but if you do, it shows you how to do things like replace the motor, how to lubricate it, where to put the oil, and basically how to care for your model and look after it. And considering the models are only about 20 or 30 pounds, Percy is very inexpensive. It's nice to still do this and to look after it. So that's that. Then you get a little set of instructions on the actual controller. Again, it's really basic stuff. I mean, look at that. Basically, plug the thing into the track, plug it into the wall, and you're good to go. And they do that in, multiple languages, basically. So, really basic stuff. Really basic so far. This is probably the most important one out of everything here. This explains how to set up the mail apparatus. And it can be quite fiddly. It can, as you'll see later, be quite fiddly. Once you've put everything into position, it might not necessarily work or work as well as it should do. The apparatus relies off little ramps lying between the rails. Sometimes those ramps stick up too much and they can try to derail Percy or any locomotive you've got going over them. And sometimes they don't stick up enough at all and the coach doesn't do its thing, nothing happens. So we'll look at that later, but it's very nice to include something like this. Because it allows you to troubleshoot and make sure you've got everything set up properly. And hey, if you do have any problems, just come back and watch this video and we'll sort through it together. Okay? The next thing is the Hornby Collectors Club. Now, it's nice of them to do this because it's not a bad little club, it's not terrible, but you have to ask yourself whether you really want to join. It's something like 20 or 30 quid a year, it's not too much, but the locomotive you do get is very basic. Very, very basic. And the little catalogue, the little magazine things you get, they only come about once every 2 or 3 months. It's not very often. They're not bad, they're quite nice. I do think Hornby are missing out on a huge thing here. Hornby, if you're watching, and I know you are, we would like something more serious than this. We would like something for the grown-ups, maybe. I think most people would be quite happy to pay a little bit more for a premium model, or maybe a premium item of rolling stock, like a really nice coach or a really nice wagon. So I do think that they should look into that because I think there's a market there. But let me know what you think, comment below. And hey, if you want me to do one, let's do this. Let's get it going. Right, so the next thing is the product range. This is really quite cool. I mean, you can basically just open it up and have a look at everything else they do. I mean, Hornby do a huge range of stuff. Look at that. Some of it is incredibly serious. Very, very professional stuff. Really high standard. And then some of it is actually really, really basic and perfect for kids or people that are just starting. So a nice big broad range of stuff, from mega basic El Cheapo right up to mega expensive serious professional stuff. A huge range. You don't really get that with other manufacturers. I mean, Bachmann is just sort of all here. They're all dead serious, and Helgen are pretty much the same. Dapol are somewhere in the middle, but Hornby, it's just really wide. It really is. So it's nice to look through that and see what else you can get. Then there's something here on basically getting into model railways. This is the owner's manual. So again, it's only basic, but it's really nice of them to include it. And it just takes you through the next steps, basically, because this is a train set. It's a starter set. You could get into the whole world of railways with this, model railways that is. So it talks about how building a baseboard, you know, constructing the frame for it, putting the MDF on top, or the sundealer, or whatever material it is you use. Sundealer is really good, but it's quite expensive. And then it even talks about wiring it up properly, how to do a reverse loop so that it doesn't short circuit. It's a nice little touch, and a lot of people do go on to big things, and all they did was start with a set like this. I'm one of those people. I mean, the house has 2 or 3 layouts in it at any one point, and it all started with just a basic set like this. Then there's the warranty registration. I don't think you need to fill this in, to be honest. I never have. I mean, the sets are so inexpensive, I don't see the point, to be honest. But it's there if you want to fill it in and send it off. I mean, for the more expensive sets, I suppose it's quite a useful thing. But if the set's only, you know, 50, 60 quid, it's not really worth it. And then there's the instructions on, well, they're not really instructions, but it's sort of like a little bit of information on this particular set. So it's how to couple things up, how to uncouple them, how to make sure you've got it wired in properly, and just to check that you've got everything as you should have it. It's nice, it's not really that important. Finally, there's the track mat. It's quite big. I'll show it you later, I promise. And we're going to set that up here in the conservatory on the floor here, and then we're going to lay the track on top. And it's quite a nice thing to have. It's useful for people that are brand new to the hobby, or for kids, because it allows you to lay out everything as they've recommended, and you can even apply the scenery and the ballasting and put little cottages and little buildings and cars, and it's all quite nicely done. But you don't have to use it. It is just a suggestion. It's like a serving suggestion, if you like. You can ignore it if you want to. Right, so let's have a look at the actual set and what you get inside it. The first thing is the curves. You get 8 of them, obviously, 4 at each end. And what's really quite nice about them is that they're 3rd radius, so they're really quite gentle. Anyone that's been buying trains since the 1980s will know that Hornby only used to fit 2nd radius curves in their train sets, and now they fit, oh, the sun's come out. Now they fit 3rd radius as standard, which is much nicer because it's a more gentle curve, it's more realistic. It does mean that the sets take up a little bit more room, but I'll put all the measurements on screen for you sort of around now-ish. And those measurements tell you how much room you need to set up this particular train set, okay? So you get 8 of those. You get a couple of big straights, you get some short straights, and of course you get your points as well. There you go. It's called a turnout, but they're called points because of the actual switching blades here, which go to a point. So there we go, we call them points. Obviously you get all the track you need. I'm not too sure how much use the siding is, but it's quite nice that you can build it and you can store the rolling stock in the siding if you're not using it. That's your controller. It's pretty basic. I don't really like this controller, to be honest. Although it does do the job. It does do the job very well. It just feels cheap. That's the only thing. It feels really cheap. I mean, it's so lightweight that, well, I think I've picked up dead insects that weigh more. It just feels really, really cheap and really basic, but it does the job and it gets you going. The idea is that obviously they have to give you something to start with, but in time, the idea is you're going to upgrade. You're going to buy something else. You're going to buy the Hornby Elite or the Hornby Select, or you're going to buy something by Gauge Master or Lens or Bachmann. So it gets you going, but definitely think about upgrading in the future. There's your little set of buffer stops, and what's even quite nice is you get a little bag of detail. It's only a couple of vacuum tubes. It's not going to make it look uber realistic, but it's nice. It's nice that they've done it. That's your transformer, obviously. This is if I just get out that little bit of male apparatus, this is the British plug, obviously the 3-pin, but obviously depending on where you are in the world, you can transform that. You can change it to 2-pin or 3-pin or 5, or wherever you live, I don't know, but that's the adapter for it. And then this is the male apparatus. This is the collector, so that's where the coach deposits the little mail bags, and you can see just here that that's the little tower. That's where you hang the mail bags, you see. So you just grab one of them like that and then hang it on the end, and then basically as the coach whizzes past, it picks up that mail bag and then deposits it a bit further around the layout. I'll show you all that later, promise. And finally, you've got the actual rolling stock itself. So this is the little box fan. They do come wrapped in tissue paper, by the way, but I've removed that so that you can clearly see and enjoy. But this is the little box fan. It's not a bad box fan, actually. It's quite nicely detailed. It has a fair bit of weight to it. The wheels are metal, not plastic, which is good, because plastic wheels have started to creep in again. I don't know if you've noticed that. I thought we saw the last of those in the 80s, but no, they've started to make a comeback on some trains. Metal wheels are definitely quite nice. The good thing about metal wheels is that they don't tend to pick up deposits and grime. Metal wheels kind of ignore deposits, whereas plastic wheels have a habit of picking up grime and then transferring it around the layout, and that's really annoying. The only criticism is that the couplers are huge. I mean, they're very good for tight radius curves, but they're very basic looking, very, childish and immature looking. It would be a bit of an effort as well to replace those with something more realistic, like a nice NEM coupling. But it's not too bad, it's only a minor criticism. And then of course you've got the operating coach itself, which should pop out if I push it with a bit of gentle persuasion. It's a bit of a tight fit. These things always are, but there we go. That's your operating mail coach. It basically has these two little levers on the bottom, and as it goes over the ramps, if I can just show you, you see those moving like that? So basically the first one goes and it picks up the coach, and then a bit later on the bottom one goes and it deposits the first one goes and it picks up the mail bag, and then later on it deposits the mail bag, and that's all it is. It's very basic. There's no detail to it at all really, and it's very lightweight, but it is designed for kids. It is part of the Thomas & Friends range, and well, the one in the other set, the Nightmare one, is a little bit nicer, but it does the job, and it, as I say, it does perform its function. It works quite well. Finally, you've got Percy. There he is. Now I'm going to rest that flat because I'm absolutely fed up of hearing it creaking all the time. This is Percy, and he's a really nice little locomotive actually. Again, the detail's quite basic. It is designed for kids, but he runs really well. In fact, I've got two Percys. Ta-da! It's the Twilight Zone. This Percy was bought in about 2008, or no, I wasn't even into trains then. Yeah, about 2009, maybe 2010 is when I got hold of this Percy. But this Percy, who came with this particular train set, he's a little bit better. I don't know why, but he runs a little bit smoother, he's a little bit faster, a little bit quieter. Maybe the maybe the mechanism, the motor, maybe it's just a bit better. I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, he works really well. He's got a cheeky little face. He's definitely Percy, and you'll see him in action very shortly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to higher the camcorder up even more, move it over here out of the way, and then set up the track mat, set up the whole layout. I'm going to assemble the male apparatus, and then we're going to get him running, and you're going to see it in action. Right, okay, so here we are. Loads of space cleared. It's not actually loads of space. There's more than enough in this conservatory, and as I say, I'll put it on screen again, just in case you need the measurements of how much space it actually takes up. So, here is our track mat. It goes that way round, so it's sort of that width. If I just fold it open, it shouldn't take up too much room. Oh, that's no good. Turn it over. There we go. Now, I can only just see the screen on the camcorder, by the way, so I hope you can see this okay. And I do apologise if you get to see my ugly face or anything like that, but I shall try to remain out of shot as much as I can. Okay, so there we go. That's the track mat. I'm going to set the actual track up on it now, and I think it's time for slightly sped up footage and a bit of music. Okay, welcome back. Did you enjoy that? Was that nice music? Right, there we go. How about that? Now, as you'll notice, it is a little bit bumpy. Because the track mat has been folded up for so long inside that box, you've got creases on it and everything. Now, before you take an iron to it and melt everywhere and set everything on fire and everybody dies, which would be really bad, I recommend just leaving it for a while. It should flatten out over time and it should be okay. But again, the idea is that you use the track mat as just a template, so to speak. It's perfectly possible to remove the track mat at this point and just build the rest of your railway as you want to. It's not really essential, but I'm just showing it you because it's in the box and I'm trying to show you everything in the box basically. But it's all set up. We've got our third radius curves there, third radius curves there. We've got a nice little sliding over there with the buffer stop. This is our power track section. This is where I'm going to plug in the mains just now. I'll set up Percy's mail train over in the siding, I think, and then we'll just test Percy and make sure he runs around okay. Now, do I want the mail collection stuff and depositing stuff on the inside, or do I want it on the outside? I guess I'll do it on the inside so you can see it better. Yeah. So basically what I mean is, if I put the mail coach over there in the siding like that, and Percy backs in and picks it up, as that coach comes out and then goes around like this, the ramp over here will trigger the thing, it'll pick it up, it'll go back round there, another ramp will trigger the thing again, and then it'll deposit it in the little building, the little hut over there. Yeah, we'll do it that way. So basically, oops, I need to put the little box span on first, just like that, and then I'll put the coach on as well. It's not too hard to do. There we go, that's nicely on. We'll put Percy on the track like that, and then next we need the actual controller. So again, I'll just speed this up and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, welcome back. A little bit quicker this time. You join me just as I plug the actual cable into this section of track that's called the power track. There we go. I think that's it. Let's just give Hornby. Let's just give Percy a little test. Oh yeah. Look at that. That's really good. Really nice. Just to slow him right down. That's really good for a DC locomotive, to be honest. There is something about this controller that allows it to control DC trains really slowly, really well. The older one was not very good at that. I just wish it didn't feel so cheap and flimsy, you know. I mean, there's seriously more weight in a piece of tissue paper. Oh. But it does the job. It does the job. I'll stop nerding. Warp 10. Yeah, that's working great. So now we need to set up the male apparatus. This is where it gets a little bit fiddly. And this is where we need to return to the instructions, I think. So if I just get everything out. In my dress rehearsal for this video, I did all of this off camera, but I thought to myself, no, I'm going to show you it. I'm going to show you how to do it. Some of you might be shouting and screaming at the screen, saying, oh, you're boring us, don't do this. But I know that there's people out there that are going to appreciate me doing it, so I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing you need to do is take your two little platforms, and then you need to put in these little prong type clips to the bottom of them. Just like that. And what these prongs do is that they slide into like a little gap underneath the rail and hold everything in place. I just got to make sure I do it right. There we go. Then there's the actual ramps. Now these may or may not be in several pieces as you buy this train set, but if they are, don't worry, they're really easy to fix. All you basically do is just give the thing a bit of a squeeze, make sure you pop it in at that end, make sure you pop it in at that end, and then that's it, job done. The metal spring should be bouncing off, it should be pushing against these little bits of plastic on the bottom, and that's what gives it its springiness, that's what forces the ramp up. So now we need our little instructions on how to set this up. Where was it? I told you it was the most important one. Here we go. The Hornby operating mail coach enables mail bags to be automatically collected from outlying locations and delivered to another site. Read carefully through the following instructions before setting up the accessories. The pickup hook and receiving bin, of course I've not assembled that yet. So basically on one of these little platforms, you put the pickup bin, the little hook, oops, like that. And then on the other one, you assemble the actual hook. And there's holes in both platforms, so you can just basically pick whichever one you want. Drop the little hook into it, a tiny bit, and oops, it's got to be that way. And get the ladders, hook those into the bottom of the top half of the hook, push the whole thing down into place, and everything's nice and secure. There we go. It's not hard to do. If you find it a little bit fiddly, just keep going and going at it, and eventually you'll crack it. Fit a set of prongs to each base. I've done that. These bases can then be fitted to the track by inserting the prongs into side slots. So you've got to decide where you want it to be, basically. I don't recommend doing it too close to a bend, that's for sure. So basically, if we set the hook up here, right next to a bend, apologies for my neighbour making a noise. If we set the hook up right there, and the coach zoomed past the hook at that point, because it's on a bend, you might find that the coach might knock the hook out of the way, or it might fail to operate entirely. So try to set it up in the middle of a straight if you can. So I'm going to need to find some gaps underneath the sections of track, and to do that, oops, I'm going to just remove this section again and then have a look. There we go. I can see two. There's gaps there and there's gaps there. I'm going to try and show you them on camcorder, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. Here we go. can you see, as I twizzle that in the light, that there's tiny little gaps underneath the rail? Can you see them? Basically, those gaps serve two functions. One is that you can plug a power connector in at those points, but you can also plug accessories like these as well, you see. So we want them to be on the inside. So let's put it this way round. There we go. I've located it into the holes, and I need to push it right through to the other side like that. There we go. That's it, job done. You see that? So it goes into those little holes underneath the rail, you push it right through to the other side, and that's really secure now. That's really good. And then obviously it's the perfect distance from the track as well. So the idea is that as the train comes around here, it's going to pick it up. Although to be honest, I'd rather it be on this side, but it's okay. We can turn the train around and make it work the other way. It's fine. It's fine. I want you to see it actually happen. You see, although you'll see it happen just as clearly if I do it on this side, won't you? I'd have to turn the coach around for that to happen, but yeah, that's doable. Okay, we'll do it that way. Right. And I tell you what, because I said it's better if you have it in the middle rather than close to a curve, I'm also going to pull out the power track and we're going to swap them round. So I'm going to put the pickup apparatus in the middle, the power track to the right of it, like this, as thus. There we go. That should work. Right, and the next thing I've got to do is fit another one over there. So if our coach is, let's do a little demo. Let's do a little demo. Let's pretend Percy has pulled this coach around. Well, that's not going to work at all, is it? It's on the wrong side. So I need to swizzle the coach around to that side. So what's going to happen is that Percy's going to have to bring the train this way, and then the ramp is going to activate, it's going to pick up the bag and then whisk it off to that side and deposit it on the far side. Whoa! Smash. So this little hut needs to be on that side. Right. Okay. That's going to get in the way of the siding, I think. I'm sure of it. Let's go and find out. Yeah, there's not enough room. I'm going to have to take the siding off, I'm afraid. Because I want to put... Because I'm putting everything on the outside, so you can see it really clearly. But it is possible to put everything on the inside, and then I wouldn't have to take the siding off. But I'm doing it this way so that you can see it on camera, and it works quite well. So again, I'm just going to remove this double straight so I can locate the gaps. Okay, the next thing we've got to do is to put the ramps in place. So seeing as I'm on this side of the layout at the moment, I'll start with this ramp. I'll start with this little platform. So we need the bottom one to open at this point, which is the one closest to the far side of the track. So the ramp needs to be on the far side of the track, and it needs to... This is where you have to experiment. Where do you put the ramp? Well, the instructions tell you to put the ramp just before the actual apparatus, but this is where you need to experiment. If you put the ramp too early, then it will the little compartment will open too early and it will fling the box out all over the place. If you put it too late, then it won't open until too late and it'll again miss. So it's all about timing. And basically what you just got to do is experiment. It's as simple as that. Put the coach on. Ooh, no, I think that is too soon. I think that's too soon. But let's see what happens. So now I've got to do one on the other side as well. Okay. So again, this time the coach is going to come around, right around like that. We need the collector to pick up, which is again closest to us. In fact, I've done that the wrong way around, haven't I? That one is going to be on that side. Yes. How did I do that? Cut. We'll edit that bit out. I don't know how I've done that, but I'm pretty sure this ramp needs to be on that side. So I'll put it a little bit later as well. We'll put it there, and we'll see how that works. And then on this side, it needs to be the one closest to the track. And again, not too early, not too late. We'll try there and see what happens. Right. Let me just check the instructions. Fit one operating ramp between the rails so that the raised side of the ramp section is to the left of the approaching train. Press the ramp firmly down so that the two clips on the underside grip the track. Make sure that the sprung section is free to rise and fall easily. Fit the pickup hook, post and ladder onto the base as shown. Fit the receiving bin base to the other little platform. Fit the second ramp onto the right of the approaching train. Yeah, I've done that. Place the receiving bin opposite the base. Assemble the train on the track so that the operating flaps in the coach are to the rear. The coach may be placed in any position on a train. Hang a mail bag on the pickup hook and make sure that the hook is set square to the track, with the extreme end of the hook pointing in the direction the train will travel. The train should be running at about half speed. That's another interesting point. If you have the train running too fast, it doesn't operate properly. It just shoots past and it doesn't work, trust me. If you have it too slow, it doesn't work either. The mail bag will be automatically collected from the pickup hook, retained inside the coach, and then ejected into the receiving bin. As soon as the bag is being collected, another may be placed on the hook for collection by the train on its next journey. It all sounds so simple, but you do have problems, as I'm about to demonstrate, trust me. So, we'll put Percy on the track then. We'll put his mail coach on the track as well. I can hear a plane going over, but I'm going to ignore it and carry on. You just have to enjoy the sound of a plane going over. We get that a lot in crew actually, especially when it's airship season, because we're quite close to RAF, well we're not too far from RAF Cosford and Brize Norton and all the others. And they just seem to fly between them all and go over crew on their way. I don't know why. Right, the little mailbag is on. Okay, here we go folks. Oof. Right, Percy has picked up his train. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Oh no, it opened too quick. Hey, but that worked though. So the coach is operating, but it happened too soon. So I've got to pull the ramp out and put it later. So how about we put it much later? Okay, let's put another one on and see what happens this time. Take 20. Yay! It's got it! Please, please, please. Oh yes! Stop! Stop the clock. It's done it! You actually witnessed it for the first time. It successfully picked up a mailbag from here, and look where it's deposited it. Let me just twizzle the camera around and use the zoom feature. Here we go. Zooming, zooming, zooming. Look! It's exactly where it should be. Oh, we got there. I said we'd get there. It just took a little while. But we got there. Job's a good one. I can't get the camera set up properly now. Is it a bit lower? Yeah, that'll do, that'll do. Right, just to prove it wasn't fluke, it wasn't just random chance, let's try again. I'm going to back him up a little bit though, because he needs to build up a little bit of speed. Right, here we go. There's a mailbag on here, and I want to see 2 mailbags in that hut after he's done a loop. Yes! Oh, we've nailed it! We've nailed it, folks. Let's put another one on. Got it? And there it is. Look, if I just lean across, there's the proof. 3 little mailbags. Fantastic. So that's it. That's basically the mail train. That's how it works. As I say, it is a little bit fiddly. You do have to experiment. I could have just paid attention to the instructions and made sure the ramps were afterwards all the time, but I wanted to show to you that sometimes that's not quite perfect. You do have to experiment, and also, as I say, you have to make sure things are as level as they can be. And I needed to push this down, didn't I? The tower was too tall. I really had to push it in because it was too high, but we got there. So yeah, it was a little bit fiddly, but you know, that's part of the fun, really. That's part of the set, that is part of the enjoyment, getting it working. And it's working a treat. So I'm going to cut to some close-up shots of it all in action, and then leave it with you. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.